Welcome to the Orton Gillingham podcast, a Brainspring production. Today, we're joined by Deon Butler, a former tight end for the Detroit Lions, whose personal battle with dyslexia inspired him to start a new vocation as a motivational speaker and advocate for struggling readers. Keep listening.
Thank you for being here, Deon.
Thank you for having me.
We were so excited to find you and learn about what you're doing, and we thought, my gosh, you are speaking our language. So we really kind of started looking at who you are, and kind of researching you a little bit. And we were like, man, we have to have this guy come and tell his story. So we kind of are going to start there, and we kind of start at the beginning. How was your childhood, and how did you get where you are now? So why are you doing what you're doing now? And let's go way back.
All right, so you want me to start in the beginning or
start in the beginning?
Okay.
Start in the beginning, just to give us a little background.
So I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
But I was raised in Inkster, Michigan.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I got 6 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay.
I stayed with my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
My uncles, we lived in poverty.
Okay.
Uncles and aunties, and we all stayed in a 2-bedroom house with 14 people in it.
Wow.
Literally 2-bedroom house with 14 people in
Wow.
it. So it's a lot of people in the house.
Yes.
In middle school, I went to Blanchette. Then I went to Inkster High School.
Okay.
I got kicked out of Blanchette for fighting, a bunch of fights. And then I had to move. My mom moved to Detroit. Then I moved in with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And Detroit got rough. And I was getting a lot of fights, a lot of fights with my mom, a lot of fights with the teachers and people in my community.
Mm-hmm.
And then I begged my grandma to come back because I enjoy living with her a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Inkster High School, and from there I went to Central Michigan University.
Mm-hmm.
And from there I went to the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
And I met my wife in college.
Okay.
And went to Pittsburgh after the NFL was over. And that's how I came to be.
Okay. So we know that you're here because you have dyslexia.
Absolutely.
And dyslexia has shaped kind of your life. And so you gave us a little rundown of your school, but what I want to know is, do you remember your first day of kindergarten? Like, what did you think about school? Like, were you excited to go to school? And was there a point at which you were not excited to go to school?
So I always hated school due to the fact that I didn't know what was going on with my brain, and I was different from all the other kids. And elementary is where I noticed that I was different but smart. And in elementary, I was the first kid to skip school.
Can you tell us what grade level that might have been?
Maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Okay.
So you skipped school because you didn't want to go there.
It wasn't just a skip school. It was more of I took the police on a little high
Okay.
roller coaster ride.
Okay.
But I give you a quick rundown on that. Me and my boy, we both was trouble students. We always got in a lot of fights. And he was older than I, and he was held back a few times. So everybody else would read or participate, but the teacher would never call on me. And I noticed that I was never able to get candies. I was chubby. I was a little chubby little kid, and the teacher never gave me a star or candy because I didn't read or try to read. So that made me mad. So I started hanging around. I think his name was Darrell or whatnot, but we started hanging around together. And during lunch, he like, you want to skip school? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I came up with this master plan of how to escape from the back door, how to distract the teacher aide, go to the bathroom, and we could slip out the back door. Make a long story short is he came up and said, look, I'm going to grab the coats and we can go. The next day, we did just that. We he went up to the teacher, and I went to the teacher aide, and we both asked, could we go to the bathroom? And once we asked to go to the bathroom, we slipped out the back door, and we left. We was walking, and we like, let's go to the playground since we missed recess. And we went to recess, and we got bored real fast. Then he like, let's go to my house. His parents was never home, just like my parents was never home. They was at work. We went to his house, and we started playing a game. I got bored real fast. And I'm like, I'm going home. He like, nah, man, you can't go home yet. It ain't that time. I'm like, man, by the time I get home, it'll be time for school to be out. Nobody would notice. Reality, I didn't even know how to tell time. So I'm walking back to my house. And once I got to my house, I noticed the door wasn't open. So nobody was home. But my neighbor across the street, he was home. And he told me to come over. And he asked me a question once I got over there. He like, why are you home so early? I panicked. I'm like, I got kidnapped.
Oh, no.
I didn't think he was going to call the police. He called the police.
You are smart. So this story is telling me you were a smart little kid.
Oh, yeah.
But you didn't participate in school.
No.
Because did you know why? Did you know that you couldn't read? I mean, were you thinking that? Like, I don't want to be here because I don't know how to read.
Yeah, but more of I'm frustrated. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm frustrated that I'm not getting the chance to read, and I'm also frustrated that when I do try to read, everybody laughing at me.
Okay, see, we're getting down to it now.
Yeah, everybody would laugh at me.
Sure.
But middle school is where I noticed that I couldn't read.
Okay.
I also noticed that my brothers and sisters can read, and I couldn't.
So you could put your finger on it. Like, I know that my problem is I can't read what's on this paper.
But Deon, was there a point in elementary that a teacher came to you and said, it looks like you're struggling here. Let's try and help you?
Well, I used to get evaluated. I would always get taken out of class to take a speech evaluation or read some paper, but it never went farther, if that makes sense. I would have to take hearing tests like everybody else, but I remember always getting put out of class to take different type of tests.
Okay. But nothing seemed to result in those.
No.
Nothing changed.
Nope.
So the question is, did you tell your grandma, like, did you say, I don't know how to read? Were you able to express that?
So I get into that, yes. In middle school, that's when it peaked more, where all the kids started bullying me for not knowing how to read. It got to a point where I used to be so brave. I like to participate. I got a cool personality, so I used to raise my hand a lot to try to read, and I couldn't read at all.
Okay.
And I would get made fun of. But the teacher will also call on me when I couldn't read and I didn't want to raise my hand. It's like, all right, now I'm being targeted right now. So what I noticed was it got to a point where the bullying started getting worse. Like, look, you stupid, you dumb. You don't need to be with us. You don't need to hang around with us. You don't need to be in the front row. Go to the back. So I made my way to the back. And it wasn't a fun experience for me. So I'm a little bit different. Normally when kids get picked on, they accept getting picked on. I didn't accept it. So I started bullying the bullies.
Sure.
I started like protecting the ones that was getting bullied. So I was getting in a lot of fights in middle school because I didn't like people bullying other people. And I felt it myself of being bullied. So it's like, all right, and I'm different. I can't read. I don't feel smart enough. So I might as well get used to this if this makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know that you're here also because you really want to have people understand how to advocate for kids. So did you feel like you had an advocate and an adult either a family member, a teacher, a neighbor, an older sibling Were you able to open up and sort of advocate for yourself or ask for help?
I hid the fact that I couldn't read.
Okay.
I hid it so well in middle school, but once I got in high school, that's when it became a problem because in order to stay under my grandma's roof, you had to follow 3 rules. You got to believe in God, you got to respect family, and education. Now, out of all my siblings, my brothers and sisters, they can do all them things. But it was the education that I was failing at. I couldn't read. I couldn't follow her rules to my full capacity. So I didn't want to be homeless, nor did I want to go back to Detroit. So
Where are you in the 8?
in the middle.
In the middle.
Yep.
So you did have older siblings.
Yep, I got 2 older sisters and 2 older brothers.
And you never went to them and said, "Hey, I can't read."
You got to remember, when you young in this group, in this area, they
Yeah.
also bullying as well. We got jokes. So a lot of the jokes was, you stupid. You're not smart.
Right.
Did any of your brothers and sisters struggle to read too? I mean,
Not that I know of.
No? Okay.
If they did, my youngest brother maybe, but if he did, he hid it really well.
okay.
And if you know a little bit about people that can't read or dyslexia, they can hide it very well.
Survival mode. Right?
Survival mode,
Yes.
Yeah.
fully.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt in high school. My 9th grade year is full survival mode. Like I'm getting in a lot of fights, but I'm also calming down, knowing that I'm getting older. So I need to be able to strategize.
Did you have that one teacher that you can look back on now and say, "Oh, I think they were trying to help me," or,
I had a few teachers that guided me throughout high school that I can always count on, and one of them was Dr. Norwood. She's now a principal for can't think of the name right now, but she's a principal, and I always go back to her and give her a hug. I always go back to her and thank her so much, because at the time I would struggle and I needed help as I was a senior in high school. And she will always say, well, look, if you take care of this class, you will most definitely be on the right path of graduating.
Okay.
So,
did she know that you couldn't read?
no,
No. Okay. So she was just trying to guide you
absolutely.
with your classes just to get you through.
So how do you think you got through graduating high school?
Strategizing in sports. So sports was my vehicle. I always wanted to get out the hood. I always wanted to get out the streets. And I wanted to go to the NBA or the NFL. So I played basketball and football. But in order to be on a basketball team or the football team, you had to maintain a 2.5
That's right.
GPA. So I came up with a strategy. And that strategy was, if I go to class every single day, I get participation points. That's a C. If I attendance, if I go to class every single day, that's attendance. But if I participate, I can get a C plus. If I turn in my work no matter what, I'll be able to get a C plus or a B possibly. And I did them things to get there. I literally went to class every single day. I turned in my work. I was participating. So I also became cool with all my teachers. And I also was communicating with all staff. So even though I couldn't read, even though I wasn't good with the spelling, even though I wasn't fully felt good about my education, I worked around the system. I literally worked around the system to be able to graduate, or just to maintain to be on a basketball team or on a football team.
So take us to the point where you're graduating from high school, you get to Central Michigan University.
So I didn't even want to go to college. I thought you had to be a genius to go to college. My brother had just graduated from high school with a 3.0. My sister had just graduated from high school with like a 3.5. So in my mind, I'm like, you need to be a genius. You need to be this smart person. So I started scaring myself away from going to college because my senior year was the only year that I played football. That was my first year of playing football in high school. Well, my senior year was my only year of playing football in high school. So, and I did phenomenal. And our quarterback was Devin Gardner, who's the quarterback at Michigan, who went to the league. Was a phenomenal player. But he was bringing all these scouts in, and all the scouts saw me.
Okay.
So now I'm getting all these scholarship offers. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to go to the league. I'm not trying to go to college. My grandma got word of me going to college. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to college. So I just needed one person approval not to go to college, and it was my grandma. So one day after school, I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm thinking of this master plan because these are her rules. These are what you need to do. I go in the house, and I see her playing a crossword puzzle, and she's sitting at the table. I mumbled under my breath, I'm not going to college, Granny. And I seen her. She looked at me and said, what did you just say? I said, I ain't going to college. I'm going to be in these streets. I'm going to sell drugs. I'm going to help with the rent. I know you struggling. I'm going to be that person to help.
Wow.
And I was walking. I'm like, all right, I got that out the way. I got that off my chest. And then out of nowhere, she came and she just grabbed me and held me against the wall. And give you a little picture. My grandma, 5'2". Short. She's very short. And she's just, everybody know her for being sweet. But when she flipped that switch, she flipped it. And she started talking to me. And it's like my ancestors was talking through her. And it was like with power and authority. And she got me pinned so tight. And she like, I didn't go to college I didn't go to them high school every single day, miss work, take the bus, 3 buses to get to your school, to hear them words come out your mouth. She say, you're going to go to college, and you're going to do great things when you get to college. I'm scared in the mud because she got this beast mode in her eyes.
Yeah.
And when she let me go, I went to my room, and I knew a few things. My grandma believed in me more than I believe in myself.
She advocated for you.
Yes.
She was your advocate.
Yes, she was.
Yes.
She also, she knew that I struggled with reading and writing, but she never said anything or she never cared for excuses. So when she spoke them words to me, I said, all right, I'm going to go, but I'm just going to disappoint you. You're going to be very disappointed. I'm not smart like my family. I'm not smart like these other kids. So that's when I picked Central Michigan University for football instead of basketball. And when I got to college, I faced some of my most difficult times in college.
What were they?
I'll give you an example. My first year, I took this class, sports management. I'm thinking that because I play sports, I can know a lot about sports. I mean, I can get an A in this class. And it's this big auditorium class. I got a couple of my football friends in there, whole auditorium. And the professor was asking about a city. And he like, who can name the city or give me information? And I'm thinking in my mind, well, let me use the same strategy I used in high school. I'm going to use it in college. I'm going to go to class. I'm going to sit in the front seat. I'm going to participate. And I'm going to do my best and turn on my own work. So I'm like, oh, I know. I gave him a state. He asked for a city. Whole class started laughing. My football friends laughing at me. The professor laughing at me. And I'm sitting there. And it broke my heart because I'm used to being a class clown at high school, but now it's bigger. Now the professor is laughing.
Yeah.
And he quieted the whole room down. And he looked right at me and said, I don't know how you made it to college.
Oh my gosh.
You will never graduate.
Wow.
Then he proceeded to teach.
Wow.
I went back to my dorm room and I cried and I called my grandma. But to remind y'all, I couldn't really talk clear. People knew me of not being able to speak clear. I don't know why. Internally, I was able to know what I wanted to say, but it never connected and it never came out. A lot of my friends used to say, Deon, what you talking about? We don't have an idea what you talking about. So when I called my grandma, I'm screaming and I'm yelling, like, Granny, why you make me come to college? Granny, I told you I was stupid. I told you I was dumb. The professor just told me I wasn't going to never graduate and I don't know how I made it to college. She said, who you talking to like that? I'm like, Granny, you ain't listening. She said, you better take some of that bass out your voice. I said, Granny, Granny, you're not listening. The teacher just called me dumb. The teacher just basically said I never accomplished anything in life. And she said something that switched and turned my whole mindset. She gave me that internal fire. She said, Deon, it's okay to ask for help.
Ah.
Nice.
She sat there and she said, Deon, it's okay to ask for help. So as I'm listening, it's like this light bulb went off. I'm like, all I do is got to ask for help. The next day, I went right into the disability office and I screamed, I need some help. I went right into that disability office. And it's like 8 people in there and everybody froze. And the chief executive came out and said, I'm going to help you. Nobody else come near you. I'm going to help you. She took me in the back office and she said, I asked her, like, why is everybody shocked that I asked for help? I thought everybody asked for help. She said, You the 6'4" African-American football player that did something nobody have never done here. You asked for help proudly.
Yes.
She said it take people, they got to pull people to get in here. People embarrassed to go to the disability office. She said they got to go to other people's classes to pull them out. You came in here with like an S on your chest asking for help. We gonna help you.
Do you know how valuable what you just told us is
Yes.
to so many people, kids especially, that don't even realize that they can ask for help, and that you just expressed something that was
That is all they have
that
to do.
people assume.
Yeah.
You know, we assume we should ask for when we need help, we should ask for it, but we don't.
Right.
Or that somebody should take notice.
Somebody should take notice.
And offer to help. So,
Yes.
yeah, what I agree what you're saying is so important for everybody to hear, that it is okay to ask for help
It's okay.
and not be embarrassed.
And
I actually wonder why you weren't embarrassed. I was sitting
he
here
had the
thinking,
fire from the grandma.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it was grandma.
It was good.
But I was thinking as you were telling that story, how going from being bullied by your peers to being bullied by an adult must have been a whole new level.
Another level.
Yes.
Never seen it. Never even seen it coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought in my heart, in my mind, that
Yes.
adults supposed to help the students or the child. But at that moment, man, I had to forgive him in my heart. But when I started going to my disability office teacher, I was able to take my exams there. So I was getting one-on-one time, right? And I told her I couldn't read, right? And she noticed that I couldn't read. So she was able to read the instructions. She wasn't allowed to do the work.
Sure.
But she was allowed to read the instruction.
Yep.
This, the part where caused me to change way more. When she would read to me, I would hear the answer.
Yeah.
Then I realized I wasn't dumb. I realized a few things.
It's amazing.
I'm like, oh, I'm not dumb. I'm not, I just have a problem. I have a different way of learning. I also realized I'm about to graduate. So thank you, Professor, for giving me that fire.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
So that support was with you all 4 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But not on the football field because I was still struggling with the playbook.
So
Right.
tell us about that.
So
First of all,
yep.
I know nothing about football.
Okay. Okay.
I know there's some sort of playbook out there that has things written in it that tell you what to do, but that's all I know.
So
I'm imagining words and pictures,
okay.
right?
Yes.
No?
So no, I'm gonna explain it. I'm
Okay.
gonna give you a detail. Are y'all familiar with a Bible? You know how
Yes.
big the Bible is.
Yes.
Well, that's how a playbook kind of look like. It's thick.
Oh.
Okay.
It's super thick, and you got to know everything.
Wow.
I play wide receiver, then tight end, so I had to know what the offense is doing. I also had to know what the defense is doing. And in this playbook, it give you instructions, but it also have like stick figures and like directions where to go.
Okay.
I don't know my left from my right at this time in my life.
Literally.
Literally, I don't know left from right. I didn't know my east from west. I didn't know my cities from states at this point. So, if you can imagine somebody getting this big book and having anxiety, not only in school, not only at home, not on a football field. So it's like during practice, because I was a rookie, I was able to mess up, and everybody was okay with it. After a while, it's my fault. It's like, you're not studying. You're not in a playbook. So the older players will get mad at me because if you mess up, you got to run. You got to run a lot. So that turned into a lot of fights. And I'm also getting yelled at. Now the coaches don't trust me because they don't think I know the playbook. It's not that I'm not trying to study. I'm trying because I'm meeting with the quarterbacks. I'm meeting with the grad assistants. I'm meeting with the coaches. I'm missing practice to study. I'm studying the playbook before practice. So it's a lot of work to go into this on top of schoolwork. Now I got to meet with my disability office. Now I got to meet with my college professors. And I got to go to study table. So I'm juggling a lot, not knowing how to read.
Did you tell your coach or your quarterback or the people on your team that you didn't know how to read?
No, I didn't tell them. I told them my senior, and I get to that. I didn't tell them in this first 3 years.
Okay.
My first 3 years, I'm like, there's no way that I'm telling anybody that I struggle with reading.
Okay.
But when you mess up on the field and everybody gets mad at you, what's your reason?
Let's fight. It ain't no reason. It's like,
Why did you feel like you
I was
couldn't
angry.
tell them? Why did you feel like you couldn't tell them? Because you knew at this point that you struggled to read,
Yeah.
and you knew that people were helping you to read, and you had opened up to the disability office and said, "I need help." And so, why do you think you didn't say, "I need help" to your coach?
because I feel like as a man, I have this stigma of I'm not supposed to be vulnerable and
Okay.
ask for these help.
Okay.
And I got to work through it. I got to be tough, and I got to work through all these problems. And
Okay.
that's how I felt. And I was tired of being bullied about it.
Yeah.
I was so tired from high school, college. I'm tired of being bullied. I don't want no more problems in this area.
Right.
I already feel like it's a cloud over my head. So
Right.
it's like, I'm not about to give you another reason not to play me. I'm not
Right.
about to give you another reason to think I'm dumb and that I'm not able to complete this task. So why would I give you that reason? If that makes sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
throughout my first 3 years, I was willing to study hard, but take the run and go hard with the run and take the consequence that comes with it. But it was my senior year. We got a new coach who's the coach at Michigan. He's the head coach at Michigan, Sharon Moore. He came in from Oklahoma, and he noticed that I was gifted on the football field. I can catch really well. I can run really good routes. I wasn't that fast, but I had talent. And I was always going the wrong way or making a wrong block. And then it's a lot of audibles in football. So if the quarterback's saying 44 East, 44 West,
Oh yeah.
in my mind, I'm going berserk.
You just pick up.
Just guess.
Yeah. You're just guessing.
Not just like reading, like how I read. I just guess.
Yes.
I just try to fill in a blank or use some detective skills to try to like put things together. And I will guess, and I will guess wrong. Sometimes I'll be right, But when you like indecisive, you're not going as hard. You're not showing your true talent.
Right.
So it's like I'm giving 50% on the football field because I can't read the playbook. I don't feel confidence with the playbook. So one day he called me to his office and he wanted to get to know me. And I gave him a hard time because I figured like, you this new coach, you not about to just come in and I'm not about to just open up to you. I got to give you a hard time. But he never gave up on me. So that was a big moment for me because he never gave up. And I'm like, all right, I think I can trust you. So when he called me in his office, he asked me a question. He's like, why are you not studying your playbook, man? Like, you gifted, you talented. Why are you not in your playbook? Why you keep going the wrong way? I looked him right in his eyes and I told him, I don't know my east from my west, man. I don't know my left from my right. Instead of him laughing at me, he gave me an example. He said, okay, if west is west, if west sound like left, what is east? I say right. So he gave me an example. West is left, east is right. I'm like, oh, okay. Once again, another aha moment. One of them.
Another workaround.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting a lot of the plays right. I done mastered this big playbook.
Wow.
So I could have been a starter my first 2 or 3 years, but I had to like literally muscle memory this whole dictionary, right?
Yeah.
I did that, and my senior year, I started performing at a high level of football. Yeah. So
it sounds like you had some very key people along the way. You know, of course, you had your grandmother, and you had, your Dr. Norwood, and you had the disability office, and you had this coach, and they were people that stood out as understanding or even wanting to seek out what was going on with you.
yeah.
And I think this is valuable information for adults. You know, when we think about people listening to this podcast, you know, they're going to be teachers, they're going to be parents, maybe school counselors. And, you know, don't ignore that kid who you're labeling, you know.
Absolutely.
Because that kid, because we're listening to your perspective. You've been on both sides of this. So we need to learn from people who can express. Not a lot of kids can express what you're expressing right now. And that helps us understand how to help them, right?
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is, I'm telling you, it's very valuable for educators and parents to hear.
But can I also add this in? When I was in college, which classes are important. English classes are important in college. You need to know how to read and write. So my counselor told me that I need to pass this English class. It's English Basic 101. And I'm working with this professor. And every day I'm going to her class. And I'm telling her, like, I don't comprehend what you're saying in his classes. I don't know how, it's like, I don't understand what you're saying or how to format paragraphs or structure sentence because I'm failing this class with a D. So I'm going there every single day. And this professor is working with me. She trying her best. She like, all right, stay here, come get some extra hours. Cool. It got to a point where I think she got tired of saying the same stuff or trying to use this same way of teaching everybody else, but trying to use it on me. And I'm telling her, I don't understand this. I don't understand how to work it. She looked me in the eyes once again and said, I can't do this anymore. I can't work with you no more. I ended up failing that class with a D. So I had to retake this class, but with a different professor. But this time I took interpretive reading, right? So I go to this professor and I'm letting him know, like, I'm gonna need some extra help. And we gotta perform what we write down. Instead of having to read it, we perform it. I get an A+ in this class.
Yeah, right.
He tells me to speak from my heart and don't worry about the errors. Don't worry about the mistakes. And he said he'd been working that job for 15 years, and he never seen somebody perform the way that I performed, because I was able to tell my story genuinely about trauma, what I faced in middle school and high school.
Wow.
And I passed that class with an A+.
That's
You see the
amazing.
difference right
Yeah,
there? It's
yeah,
like,
exactly. We, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but about Orton Gillingham, and a hallmark of that is multisensory, right? And so you perform everything that you've done. All of your successes were because you were looking at things in a different way. That little rhyme the coach taught you about left and east and west, and that is a multisensory technique. Acting out something is a multisensory or multimodal kind of technique. So you're just proof that absolutely your brain, it works. I mean, it works. And it has nothing to do with your intelligence,
intellect,
right?
absolutely not.
Right.
So this whole time throughout my elementary to college, I'm thinking I'm just so dumb. I'm like,
Yeah.
I put this stigma over this storm. Not only did I put on it, but the teachers and the people in my world is like proving like, okay, well, if you can't read or you can't write, you're dumb. You know what I mean?
So, Deon, when do you hear the word dyslexia?
During the pandemic.
I was
Okay.
Look what I wrote down on my paper. Pandemic.
During the
Yeah.
pandemic.
So
Let's fast forward to that.
nobody in high school, nobody in college, nobody says, you might have
Dyslexia.
thing.
No. But what really made me comfortable was working with the Special Olympics
Oh,
in college. I got a bunch of awards for working with the Special Olympics.
okay.
So big shout out to the Special Olympics.
What did you do with them?
I got to have fun. And I got to experience a whole nother world. So it's this 3-day event where all the athletes will come up to Central Michigan and they will compete. All type of competitions, from weightlifting, from running track, from dancing to swimming. And I remember my counselor in the summertime, Miss Steely, she asked me to go, would I be a volunteer? I'm like, nah, I don't want to say the wrong thing. You know, I got a low vocabulary at this time. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to mess up. But I also was known around campus for being such a great person, having this loving heart. So she like, I really would like for you to work with the Special Olympics or just volunteer and see if you like it or not. This was my second year in college. And when I say it changed my whole world of me looking at myself, it literally did. These athletes came out there and they competed and they didn't care who was watching. So while my whole life I cared about what people were saying. But now I'm working with these athletes and I'm literally being myself, having fun with them, encouraging them, motivating them, just giving them my true gift. And they're giving it back to me, being excited and being happy. So I say, all right, all I gotta do is be myself. So I started getting comfortable in my own skin, the way I learn, in the way that I think, in the way I move in this world. It's like I'm different, but okay, we all are different. So I got some awards just by just being a good person. I got noticed by just being myself and allowing my spirit to come out at this time. So I say, all right, well, I'm never going to change. I'm going to always be my genuine self.
So finally, people are seeing you for you.
Me, yes. Not this football player.
Right.
Not this
Not
toughest
a
guy.
student.
Not the bad student.
Not the bad student.
Not the bad kid.
Yeah.
Not this kid that's from the hood that got all this trauma.
Right.
Somebody that's genuinely inside that,
Yeah.
hey, I got love inside me.
Right.
So it turns out to be the best time of my life in college. Football wasn't my most memorable time. It was the Special Olympics.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So from there, I graduated from college reading at a 4th grade level. So I have just done the unthinkable. Nobody in my life, nobody in my hometown, nobody expected me but my grandma and a few of my mentors and coaches who played a big role expected that. But people was telling me I was going to come home. I was going to fail. I was going to be a drug dealer, that I was going to be I was going to go to prison. People were literally telling me I was going to be dead before I was 18 because I couldn't read, because I used to do what the bad kid was doing, right? So I had this label. I proved them wrong by graduating. I proved the professor wrong by graduating.
Yes. Yes.
And let's talk about your grandma. What did she say?
Was she at your graduation?
She couldn't make it because she was starting to get a little ill.
Oh.
But my mama and my dad did make it, and my grandma made them come.
Okay.
Oh,
And that
great.
changed their perspective. Like, now, okay,
Okay.
at this time,
They must have been proud.
very proud.
Yeah.
Very, very, very proud.
That's-
It's an eye-opener. We need to notice him.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm playing good on the football team. Now I'm playing good on the football field because now I'm adjusting to the East and West, the playbook. I just graduated. I go to the Bahamas Bowl, and this was one of the biggest Bahamas Bowl. And then I got invited to go to the ESPYs, which is one of the biggest awards for celebrities, whatever. And so now I didn't want to go to college. Now I'm exposed to college because of my gift to play football, and I just graduated. So the NFL coming. And this is where Detroit Lions, well, first, before the Detroit Lions, a lot of the coaches was telling me that a lot of NFL teams are interested in me. I knew I wanted to go to NFL, but at this time, I done faced so much stuff. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't even think I can go anymore, right? I don't even believe in myself anymore. So when the coaches started telling me that NFL scouts was interested in me, I was really excited. That's like, all right, Granny, it's time for me to get you this house. It's time for me to get my family out this environment.
Yeah.
Like any other athletes, really trying to get their family out that environment.
Yeah.
So, of course, you got to take the this test. I forget what it's called, but it's a test you got to take on your IQ. And of course, I can't read, so I didn't do as well on the test. And but when it came to the training and skilling, I did pretty much good. So that's when Detroit Lions gave me an opportunity, and
Okay.
they signed me.
All right. That's awesome. That's great. So so you played on the Lions. How long did you play on the Lions?
It was off and on because they kept cutting me.
Okay.
And during this time, when they signed, it was 2015.
Okay.
And the first time they signed me, I went in rookie camp, and I performed really well on the field. This playbook got harder.
Oh boy.
It
The
came
playbook
back.
again.
Think about college, and then now you got to think about the NFL, right?
Yeah.
College, you got 4 years to study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NFL is business, strictly business.
Yeah.
Who know they stuff,
Yeah.
right? I'm in a room with Kyle. I'm in the locker room with Calvin Johnson, which was nice. A lot of athletes. I'm happy. Matthew Stafford at the time was in the was the quarterback, and I remember like how am I asking myself how am I going to get around this playbook? Do I just say I need help, or do I keep it in? And I remember we all fighting for a spot. That kicked in again. I'm like, oh no, I ain't asking for help. I'm in a room, and these are not college students. These are grown men.
Right.
Now just imagine you go in there and you say, oh, I can't read the playbook. Just my thoughts is everybody about to clown me. So I'm like, all right, no, I ain't gonna say nothing. So the coach is now seeing that I'm going the wrong way. Now my mind messing with me again. Now I'm out east-west and it's faster. It's like, okay. It gets tougher now. So they cut me the first time. They must have been sitting around and said, you know, he a good athlete. They must have been sitting around like, he got some talent. Maybe he'll wake up. Maybe he'll learn to study because he's a great athlete. They signed me again. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna study the playbook, but I'm going to go even harder on the football field. I did something so amazing at practice during our scrimmage. I scored a touchdown going the wrong way.
Oh.
I scored a touchdown running the wrong route. So all the coaches like, yeah, let's go. They put me to the side and say, bro, come on, man. You know that was the wrong route. I'm blocking real hard. I remember my college coaches saying, if you go hard, everything will be okay.
Okay, so what is your reason when that happens? What do you say to your coach?
I scored a touchdown.
And he says, but you went the wrong way.
You went the wrong way.
And what do you say?
It don't count. In the coach's eyes, it don't count.
But do you give him a why? Do you say, oh,
No, it's
what
like,
do you say?
in my head, I don't say nothing. I got to be disciplined. I got to accept whatever you offer. I mean, whatever you telling me, I'm coachable. So I got to just be there and listen. I got to accept that I just went the wrong way. The touchdown don't matter.
No excuses.
There you go. No excuses whatsoever. But in my heart, it hurt.
Yeah.
So now, my grandma's sick with cancer. So after practice, I'm going to go to the hospital. Back to the practice, hospital. And my grandma was my cheat code. She was like my cheat sheet. So if I needed answers or if I had a problem, I would go to her. But she's laying in bed and she's sick.
Yeah.
And she asked me why she's sick. And she's so tough. She asked me, like, how's football going? I'm looking at her like, it's going well, Granny. I was so scared to tell her, like, Granny, you've been worrying about me all my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been worrying about me and you've been keeping this family together all my life. Let me take care of you. So instead of me like, Granny, I'm struggling with the playbook. Granny, the coaches like me a lot, but I just can't, for some reason, I can't get the playbook right. And I lied. I'm like, everything is going phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm telling about Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm telling about how cool it is to be on the team and how the players love me. And that's when Detroit Lions cut me again.
Okay.
They called me back again. And this time my grandma passed away. So my heart is, my why, the reason why I'm doing everything is gone.
Yeah.
But before she passed away, she said, go forgive your mother. Allow your mother to be your new why. Build up a good relationship with your mother. So the Lions had told me to go overseas. My agent had told me some old NFL teams was interested in me and wanted to sign me. But I just wasn't into it. Was like, what am I doing this for now? You know what I mean?
What year is this?
2016 or 15, I believe.
Okay.
15, I believe. I can't. Yeah.
So you end up moving on, walking away from your NFL
my dream come true.
your dream. And let's fast forward to the pandemic when your life, you got a reason.
Yes.
You found the reason.
So, as you know, during the pandemic, it was the darkest time. My mom ended up passing away.
Ugh.
I done built a good relationship with my mom, bringing her out to Pittsburgh with me, and we building this strong connection. And she passed away. So I went into this dark depression. My brother ended up getting life in prison. My cousin ended up getting life in prison.
Ugh.
So it's like my life is like, feel like it's falling apart. So I went to a deep depression. And I feel like I needed to go get help. So I started going to therapy. And I started going to therapy. My therapist like, well, what do Deon like? We know that Deon like to please the people in college and grandma and mother. But what does Deon like? I couldn't answer. She said, well, I want you to go do this. Go find out what Deon like in the world. So I started running. I'm talking about a lot of miles, 10 miles, 20 miles. I'm running every single day. And I'm having a conversation with God. And I'm like, God, why you take my mother away from me? After all that we done, after all I done been through. I moved my mom in college. I done did everything I was supposed to be doing. I stayed away from the drugs. I stayed away from everything. I got on this road. I got on this path. I did everything I was asked to do. And now you making my life come apart. It's falling apart. I started healing. I started feeling better. I was getting it all out. Then my wife tells me she's expecting 2020, still during the pandemic. I went right to them trails. I started running again. And I started confessing to God, like, God, I can't read. God, I want to be able to be that father that read to my daughter. My father didn't read to me. My daddy didn't read to me. I done got through college, graduating from a 4th grade level. I just want to read to my daughter. God said, go tell your story to the world.
Yep.
Go fight for education. So I get up and I do exactly what he was telling me to do. I got on social media. I'm like, I graduated from reading at a 4th grade level. that's when I ordered 3 books. I said, you know what? I'm going to study. I'm going to learn how to read, and I'm going to read to my daughter. So I'm determined now. Like, nothing is going to stop me from learning how to read. I ordered 3 books from Amazon. One was Basic Learning for Dummies, right? These books, I know nothing about it, right?
Sure.
So I'm in the basement, and I'm like going hours and hours. I noticed a few things. I'm skipping over words. I'm overworking my brain. I can't see certain words. I can't pronounce these words. And I'm going at it every single day. And one night, I just lay my head down. I go to sleep. And in my dream, I kept on hearing dyslexia, dyslexia, dyslexia. I woke up, I'm like, dyslexia, dyslexia. I don't know what dyslexia mean at this point.
You had never heard
Never
that?
heard of dyslexia. But I'm waking up, I'm like, dyslexia.
Wow.
I turn on YouTube. I got a TV in the basement. I'm like, dyslexia. Now I see on YouTube people like talking about it, but they ain't explaining what dyslexia
What it is,
right?
yeah.
So I go in and now I'm YouTubing trying to find out what dyslexia mean. I see a guy on YouTube and he started persuading about dyslexia. Okay, cool. I email him. I'm like, I'm Deon Butler, I accomplished. I'm doing what God told me to do. So this guy come back and he says, I got these classes and they will teach you how to read. I'm like, you telling me you got classes? There's a way to learn how to read. He said, yeah. So make a long story short, he took me basically around the world with false advertising about reading.
Oh.
So it was some of the most traumatic time in my life. One of a traumatic time in my life because he was using me. Because he knew more about dyslexia, and then I didn't know anything about dyslexia. So I started advertising. I broke away from him. I'm like, all right, he just a catfish. He just trying to use me. God told me to go tell my story to the world. God also told me that there's a real way to learn how to read. So boom, 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 boom. I'm back on Facebook. Like, hey, I'm telling my story. I don't care. I'm telling my story. Then I run into Miss Susan. Miss Susan she works for the IDA, and also she fight for education.
There you
and
go.
she said there's a true way to learn how to read. I say, well, I was told that it's not everybody can read with dyslexia. She said everybody can read. She said it's the Orton Gillingham, the Wilson, also the Wilson program as well.
Yep. Yep.
She said she's been trained
Yep.
in this program.
Yep.
I said, okay, so you telling me that we can work together and you're going to teach me how to read. So that's how I ran into Miss Susan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how many years did you study with her?
3 years.
Okay.
Going on 4.
Are you still working with her?
Absolutely.
Oh, you are?
Amazing.
So do you want to hear about the study session and stuff like
Yes.
that? So,
Tell us what you want to tell us.
I don't know if have you ever seen Rocky?
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
So you know when Rocky was fighting what's the big guy?
I'm trying to think of his name.
Mike.
Yes, the Russian guy. Yes.
What was
the
his-
Russian guy?
The Russian guy. Yeah.
Yes. That's how I looked at me and Miss Susie as we was going in training. You know how Rocky had to go into like this dark place of training?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, God, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to train. So we going at it, and she's teaching me how to break down syllables. She's teaching me how to use the BCV, which separate the words and split them down. So for a minute, I'm thinking I got it. I'm like, I got it. I'm excited about it. I know how to read, but really, I really don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she bring out this board and she said, read this word, and it's a 1-syllable word. I'm looking at the word. I'm trying to use all my tools for the word, knowing I ain't got it all. And in my mind, I like literally just start crying. I'm like, why you teasing me? Why you picking on me? I really thought she was picking on me, but she wasn't.
Right.
So it kind of humbled me to say, I don't know everything.
Right.
I don't know this full program. I don't have it all.
Right.
I got to relearn everything. 44 sounds in the alphabets. There's 5 different ways you can spell A.
That's right.
There's a lot of things
That's
that
That's right.
goes into the Orton Gillingham.
Yes.
So also it made me feel like, all right, the English language is broad.
Yes.
So I no longer feel like, all right, stupid no more. I'm like,
hard language to learn.
Absolutely. I'm
Very
like,
hard.
okay, well, I don't feel that much pressure no more.
Right.
And then I learned that it's a whole community. When I say it's a whole community of people that have dyslexia or people that's going through the Orton Gillingham training program, I'm like, oh, for the longest I thought it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I'm the only one in this world that can't read. I must be the stupid one. God, why you do this to me?
Yeah.
I realized I'm gifted.
Yeah, that's right.
I realized
You got to where you are for a reason.
absolutely.
And
And the Orton Gillingham also don't just help with reading, but it help listening.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
y'all know more about this than I do, but Miss Sue was telling me one side of my brain is lighting up
Yes.
when I'm reading because now I know how to read.
Yes.
I get up every morning at 3 a.m. and I'm practicing and I'm using my fingers, breaking words down. I'm literally every morning because I seen a little hope and I'm reading paragraphs and sentences and I'm like, oh, I got it. I got it, but I'm reading.
The light bulb went off.
It went off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Now I'm reading to my daughter. Now I'm like, my confidence is starting to, all these little tools, these little, like, I could read, but I couldn't read. So I can guess at words or I master words, but you don't know these things.
Right.
It's no longer guessing anymore.
Right.
I'm decoding words.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to decode something for us here?
Absolutely.
Can you read what's in that box?
Yes. When I learned how to read, it was better than going to the ESPYs. It was better than going to the NFL. It was better than any award I have ever received. Learning how to read is one of my best accomplishments. I feel complete, like I could finally breathe.
And who said that?
I did.
That's right.
It's true.
That quote brought tears to my eyes.
Yes.
And I think it's, again, I know we've said this before, but it's such a great, you're such a role model for all kids, not just kids who struggle to read, but all kids. Absolutely. And to read that quote and have you put reading at the top of the pyramid and everything else was, just secondary is so moving. It really is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it was like the storm finally disappeared.
Yeah.
And
does it feel like the fight is out of your heart? Because you talk about being in school and having that aggression and fight every time somebody questioned you. Does it feel like it's released?
It do. It feel like that fresh breath of air. Like, you go in underwater, somebody holding, and you finally get some air. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
When I first broke through, I couldn't even recognize my voice. Listen to what I'm saying. I couldn't even recognize my own voice. And when I was in Pittsburgh, I started working with as an education liaison. So I was working with inner city kids, kids in foster homes, kids in that's been abandoned to have caseworkers. And I encountered my first I need to do something moment when I realized this kid that was in 4 different foster homes fighting just like I was fighting in school. I noticed why he was doing what he was doing.
Yes.
So on our way to our IEP meeting, I was his support, right? And I'm like, man, what's going on? Just open up to me. And then I seen a fight in him. And I also saw him let go. Like, you know what, Mr. Deon? I'm struggling with the school. Then I told him my story. This before I even learned how to read. I'm thinking in my mind, maybe this will help him open up and tell the teachers that he's struggling. I'm like, man, I struggled through. I graduated from college reading at a 4th grade level. He like, Mr. Deon, I know you did. I said, yes, I did. Like, you too professional. I was doing a really good job in this field at this time, at the moment. And like, you too professional, man. Mr. Deon, you lying. You just trying to cheer me up. I'm like, I literally don't know how to read, man. To this day, I'm in work and I'm like doing a good job, but I don't know how to put it on paper. I don't know how to express myself on paper. And we go to this IEP meeting and I finally got him to calm down and he feeling good. During this IEP meeting, I saw the teachers coming at him like his handwriting better. I mean, his handwriting is bad. He's acting out. Nobody was there to support him. He didn't have a mother or a father to say, well, this is the reason why he's struggling. I didn't know at the time about dyslexia, so or just in general how to speak up about it. So as he's in his meeting, I saw him go back to a gangster. I saw him get up and storm out and start acting out. I'm like, that ain't him. So that's what made me say, I gotta step out this business world. I don't have the power or the knowledge to speak up in front of these caseworkers or these lawyers or these teachers because I don't know what's going on either. But now I fully know what's going on.
Yeah. So you've been, your perspective is super valuable because you've been on that kid's side and on the other side. So we need to wrap it up a little bit here, but I want to ask you to give us one takeaway. So we're leaving, we're saying goodbye, but what is one thing you would like people to remember as they leave this podcast?
That it's okay to ask for help, and parents and teachers play one of the most important role into a child being successful. Because it's a lot of kids that grow up with all these scars. But when they have support and somebody that believes in them, they can accomplish and get past half of the work. But they just need that little push or saying, hey, you got this, or I'm going to be with you. But first, parents and teachers need to be educated on it.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
It was very enlightening and inspiring.
It's been an honor to have you. It's just been amazing. Thank you so much. And
let us know how we can help you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Deal. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Orton Gillingham Podcast, a BrainSpring production. For additional content, please subscribe to our newsletter, visit our website at brainspring.com, or follow us on social media. To submit questions or comments, please email us at podcast@brainspring.com. Your feedback is always welcome.